Hi, everybody, and welcome to Retail Reset, a curated virtual forum for retail executives. Our goal is to provide tailored and tactical conversations and content to help you map your road to recovery and beyond. I'm Brian Wassel, Associate Editor at Retail Touchpoints, and I'm thrilled to be joined by Scott Williams, CEO of Batteries Plus Bulbs. We're going to be talking about how Scott and his company are handling the coronavirus crisis as an essential retailer, helping franchisees work through these challenging circumstances. So welcome, Scott, and thanks for joining me in this discussion.
Oh, glad to be here. Thanks for having me. It's an important time in our country, so glad to be here.
Of course. Yeah, and just with that in mind, the way I'd like to start is, can you just tell me a little bit about how everyone at Batteries Plus Bulbs is doing and handling the crisis?
Well, when you think about the crisis across the country, the headlines that I talk about at Batteries Plus Bulbs, I think put us in a pretty favorable position, and we feel lucky to be there. Almost all of our 730 stores are open. We have no cases of COVID-19 in any of our stores or in our distribution center or in our headquarters. And we've been deemed an essential retailer. And so by the opportunity to sell thermometer batteries, sell to hospitals, et cetera, it's been an important time for us. And it's really important as folks learn new terms like essential and contactless.
Okay. And as an essential retailer, your stores remained operational during this crisis. What kind of adjustments have you made to keep both your employees and your customers safe during this time?
Well, we realized pretty quickly that the term contactless curbside was becoming a national phenomenon, and I'm really proud of our system was able to put that in place in 48 hours. We found that quite a few of our customers prefer that method for picking up, just like a lot of restaurants have had to adapt. We have let folks know that we are still open and they can still come inside. And with our average number of employees of 3 to 5, I think it's been important for us to position as a smaller retailer that has less contact required. We did implement a number of things to go along with contactless. We have Square devices that can take payment at the curb. We do have hand washing procedures, gloves, and masks available. And it's been important because we've got a lot of customer reviews talking about thanks for the procedures and making it safe in order to do that pickup. And I think people really appreciate those procedures.
So, you mentioned that you're a smaller retailer. How has that helped you maintain social distancing and keep people safe by preventing them from having to come into too close contact?
Well, we found that a couple of different terms are really resonating with customers right now. One is a smaller retailer, as you talk about, a lot of folks are having to plan their activities if they're to go to a big box store, and at times to get into those stores, they have X's on the floors and stand outside 6 feet apart and really realize they're going to come in contact with a lot of folks. And we feel like the comfort of ours being able to park in front, have the curbside, and only have interaction with several employees has helped us. The second piece I think that's important is locally owned. Folks are really leaning into locally owned retailers. And even though we're a national chain with 730 stores, we are 280 franchise owners, have almost 90% of our stores, and they operate in their communities every day.
Okay, so it seems like you've got a very good handle on how to stay open, how to keep everyone safe during this crisis. What sort of advice would you have for other business leaders who are also trying to navigate these times and maintain their own operations?
Well, I think regardless of whether you're an essential retailer or not, you've really learned the value of omnichannel and the value of e-commerce. We've seen our e-commerce sales and buy online, pick up in store escalate by 50%. And folks have really learned how to use technology at home and being able to look at curbside contactless. So if you don't have a strong omni-channel buy online, pick up in store, and you're a retailer, you're learning quickly on the fly, and it's becoming a high priority as folks have become very comfortable with that and have had to do that for takeout at restaurants and other examples.
Okay. And so, what I guess my next question would be, what have you been doing to help, those in need during the crisis? Not necessarily retailers, but the hospitals who are dealing with these people, the people who have been struggling with these current times. What have you been doing to help the communities that you work in?
Well, I think it's really important, and it's been sort of rewarding for our retail associates to hear stories about some of our sales that have really helped in times of need. We've had a rush delivery, a request for batteries for hospital beds in Michigan. We've had folks need to get their cell phone repaired because they're checking in on an elderly relative. We've had folks pulling up, sometimes in their age of 70s and 80s, and had a surge in the sales of thermometer batteries, where people would have thermometers at home but may not have used them for a couple of years and realized they needed a new battery because they were wanting to check for symptoms. And so as we see those and be able to chase the supply chain, and we've remained high 90% in stock, it's really rewarding for our folks helping people in this time of need.
So as you mentioned, you've been doing a lot of work with medical professionals, with hospitals. So how's it been to help these places, I guess, stay operational, give them the batteries they need, give them what they need to keep their thermometers running?
Well, we have 9 major industries that we support, and a couple of those are down, like churches and schools are less operational, but we always support hospitals. And if you think about the items that go into a hospital, mobility like wheelchairs, hospital beds, backup lighting, exit signs, LED, et cetera, all go into hospitals. And you think about that, they're at record demand and they're at record occupancy levels. And they don't have an opportunity to have thought about this to stock up ahead of time. And they need to count on their business partner like Batteries Plus to have the strong supply chain and the local store in their community that they can either pick it up, but in often cases, we're delivering it. We have a truck for every store and are able to get that over there in record time. And that's important because they don't have time to wait right now.
Interesting. Now, one thing I found very interesting is that despite these stressful times, you've actually seen a rise in your customer satisfaction. I believe it's some of the highest you've ever seen. How have you been meeting shoppers' elevated needs and the precautions that come with operating during the COVID-19 crisis?
Well, that's really been a pleasant surprise for us. If you'd asked me to predict going into this crisis if customer satisfaction scores would rise or decline, I probably would have predicted a decline. I mean, certainly people are stressed and in a new normal right now. But what we've also found is that they really appreciate those that are operating well. And so as they come in and see safe delivery and contactless curbside, plus you're meeting a need of something they need, whether it's a fixed cell phone or a thermometer battery, they're very appreciative. And also they have a little bit more time available to write a review. And so when they see good operations in action, they'll go take the opportunity to write that review. And so we're sitting at a net promoter score of over 85%, all-time record high, and those are being promoted out into Google reviews at over 90% satisfaction rate. So it's really been a rewarding process and maybe a bit of a surprise, but we're certainly happy that it's playing out this way.
Yeah, and with so many retailers closed, you can't take it for granted that customers will realize that your stores are open, whether they're just driving by or checking you out online. So what steps have you taken to inform shoppers that you're an essential retailer, you're available, and you can give them what they need right now?
Well, when the crisis first started, it was really a challenge for us because we were always open, but we might be in a strip center where several of our neighbors were closed. And so people would go by and kind of do a visual wondering who was open. And we did some very, tactical things. We made sure our open light was on. Sometimes we propped the door open, maybe have an employee park in front of the store to give a visual signal that we were open. Additionally, then when we rolled out contactless, we put up sandwich boards that said open for curbside contactless delivery. And ironically, we had a couple people walk up to our store, see that, and start to walk back to their car. And our associate, our manager said, hey, we're open. Is there anything we can do? And they said, oh, I thought you were contactless curbside only. Oh, I was wanting to come in and look for some things. I'm glad to know that. So we called an audible and made some changes and made sure the sign showed open and curbside and to be able to go forward. And in some cases, we're finding our landlords are allowing us a little bit more leniency on flutter flags and painting the curbs in the parking stalls, et cetera, to make sure folks know that we're open for business.
Yeah. Actually, I'd like to do another follow-up if possible. This is kind of a bit different from the tack you've been taking so far, but could you talk a little bit about your relationship with landlords? Just because this has been just a common thread where everyone's kind of in this together.
Well, we obviously have communication with our landlords regularly, and 85 of our stores are company-owned. And I think folks are willing to work together during this time. Certainly, landlords are under a bit of pressure. There's a lot of retailers that are closed and are stressed to be able to pay their rent payments. We're working with folks that we can let them know we are an essential retailer and we're open and solid for them, but we'll also talk to them about what's an appropriate level of rent payments. Additionally, if you think about our 650 stores that are owned by 280 franchise owners, they're having conversations with their landlords as well, talking with them about, is this an opportunity, not necessarily to completely have a rent abatement, but maybe delay it and tack it on to the end of the lease, and those type of opportunities that really is fair for both sides, but helps cash flow during this time in the next couple of months.
Okay. So another aspect of the coronavirus and the social distancing is the rise of the home office, which has caused many people to discover this for the first time and also have to stock up on the essentials they need to run one. Do you expect this to cause a shift in how your customers shop for electronics essentials even after the crisis ends?
Well, I think so. Some of the categories and products that we hit early on were like laptop batteries, charger cables, opportunities for folks to make sure that they're set up from a Wi-Fi point of view, et cetera. And part of that is obviously strong working, iPads, iPhones, and, many people don't have landlines now. So they were needing to make sure they were operational pretty quickly. And not everyone saw this coming. So we think that a lot of that has caused a potential permanent behavior that will continue to have strong demand for those categories. From our headquarters point of view, it's going to be very important for us that as we go forward, we will gradually open back up with partial shifts. And we're going to probably have 25% occupancy and then 50% occupancy with the appropriate, hand washing procedures and social distancing, et cetera. And I think that's going to be a new reality for commercial real estate and for landlords and for businesses, is how much occupancy do you need? And will you, because you've seen it work more effectively than you thought, go to platoons of Monday, Wednesday, Friday workers and Tuesday, Thursday workers, just simply to honor social distancing, and I think practices that will continue on permanently.
Okay. And Batteries Plus Bulbs is a heavily franchised company. And how have you helped your franchisees navigate the challenges of operating during this pandemic?
Well, there's a couple of things that have been really important for us. First of all, our 280 franchise owners are local businesses, and we've been able to help surface some opportunities for them to get local PR because people want to know who are the essential retailers, what is operating in their community, and they've been able to do local television and interviews talking about things you should be doing during this pandemic on keeping power up at home, operating your home office. So oftentimes you're running a school out of your home. You've now become the homeschool teacher, what you're able to do for chargers, cell phone repair, and those type of things. So from that standpoint, it's been nice to make sure that we're known as a locally owned business, and we're working with making sure the names and the faces of our franchise owners get out there. Additionally, it's important for us as a national supply chain as we're working with our suppliers and our distribution center to ship high percentage on time and to make sure that there's appropriate terms from our vendors so that they have the flexibility of inventory, payment schedules, et cetera, and have launched some additional programs that we would launch without a charge to our franchise owners just so they can get launched on things such as commercial selling support, et cetera.
Okay. Yeah, and my last question for you is more of a personal one, which is, how has operating during a crisis like this affected you both as a business leader and as a human being?
Well, one of the things I've learned, and the phrase I use, that in a pandemic, every day seems like a week and every week seems like a month. And so we have operationalized a war room every day at 3 p.m. And every week we make sure there's at least a couple of communications that go out to all of our franchise owners. And it may be a video, it may be, a memo, it might be a webinar. And in some cases, we're even doing regional webinars with local information pertinent to their state. And so additionally, then we just did an all-employee meeting that went through all of our folks that are working remotely. And in that meeting, we updated them with what's going on with the company. We did sort of a silly intro video using sort of a Brady Bunch theme with all the windows of people looking around so they could see the leaders in action, and needed to give out our employee awards via Zoom bombs. And so they were on calls, and then we would drop in as a management team and congratulate them. And all of those show the value of communication and leadership during this tough time. And I think, kind of like it is with the customer satisfaction scores, I think the employees need it as much as well. They need to see some interaction, even if it's via a little small tile on their laptop, to be able to be connected and realize you really feel remote during this time. And so I think communication and the opportunity to show optimism and how we're going to come out of this is more important than ever.
That's really great. That's so awesome. Well, thank you so much, Scott, for joining me. I just also want to thank everyone else for listening in.
Thank you. This was great. Thanks for the opportunity.